So for OPR, before you start playing, you're going to have to level up your expertise. There's already a 6% difference between level 600 and 625 gear, and it grows farther if you're below 600. Things are scaled down if you buy them close to 600 until you get up to that expertise level, so I wouldn't bother with that. Also, when it comes to faction points, don't spend your points on the gear. It's going to get outclassed extremely quickly, and once you get to that expertise, you'll never touch that gear again. And so a few places that you can level that up in, Skysong Crypt, you're always going to be able to find people here. Everybody will be using topaz and obsidian to make sure they get at least 3 gypsum and 3 things to level up. Another great spot is expeditions. You can get topaz, obsidian, and sapphire. World Tour, though, is going to be the best. Look for that in the global chat. People are going to be going basically 40 at a time, running around to different high-level areas, just opening boxes. You're going to be able to get lots of health potions, as well as materials that you're going to be using for many other things. But the best is you're going to get these expertise bumps quite often. It does help to have luck gear. And also, before you get into the game, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least 10 dots in the attributes. You'll be able to get 9 dots innately with level 600 gear, and then you'll have 40 attribute points that you'll make up with tier 5 food. Make sure you also check food prices before your build. Something like Dex food is just way too expensive, but a split Dex and Intellect is much more affordable. As a starter, you might need a lot of con. 150, maybe even 200 for those extra bonuses. You'll feel a lot better in the game if you're not dying as quick. So you've just got into your first game, you're going to want to make sure you play with your team, almost never go on by yourself. Play mostly for control points, and don't get stuffed into recapping your home base. If they're pushing up and taking your home base and even putting a respawn point there, don't worry about it. You're going to be able to get their base or the mid base pretty easily if their whole team is in one spot. Baron is going to be the most important. We'll talk about that a little bit later. PvE is important, but you have to be able to defend yourself as well. If you die and lose all the materials you got to somebody else, they might be able to take your point and build a respawner with what they just got from you. And if you are going to do PvE, make sure to use yield items. Make yourself worth it. You're going to be able to get enough materials for a respawner from just 2 wolves and 2 ore nodes. On wood cutting, it's also going to be very efficient, being able to get 80 wood, being able to put up 2 doors very quickly. The last couple things, thrust damage reduction. You're going to want thrust damage reduction. Emeralds on pretty much all of your gear. There's a lot of bow players these days, and a lot of musket players, and the thrust damage that you're taking from those, if you can reduce it as much as you can, that's great. And even more so, resilient. You probably want resilient on every piece of armor you have. With 5 pieces of resilient, you can basically nullify crit attacks, but without it, you're going to feel very, very, very weak. And once you're in the game and you start to play, the big thing is helping your team win. Don't worry about kills, don't worry about showing off. You just want to win the game, get the good rewards. You want at least 3,000 personal points so that you can get all the rewards from the game. Also, watch out for the Zerg. Zerg is when the enemy team enters a death ball, and they just fly across, killing everybody, and it doesn't seem like you have a chance. Yes, it can be frightening, but it doesn't mean that they're always going to win the game. There are ways to play around it, going for other bases, teaming up, and running back for their home base. When it comes to defending a base, there's no need to stand around if there's nobody attacking it. Sure, sometimes it might be helpful if you're able to stop a single person, but once you get the doors up, it'll tell you when your base is getting attacked. You don't want to lose a body in a team fight. Then suddenly they're just up 1 person as one of your guys is standing around doing nothing, waiting for enemies. So once you get into the game, what are you up against? Well, people with 300 strength, 200 con. These guys are going to be using the axes, the hammers, and they're going to feel like they hit hard. What hits even harder, the 300 dex rangers. They're going to be able to hit you with almost 3,000, 4,000 damage it feels like per shot. You're also going to run into these healers that you can't seem to kill by yourself. If they're putting Fortify on themselves, they're using probably more than 300 focus. You're going to find mages doing lots of area of effect damage. Seemingly, they're going to be able to take you down instantly with some CC. And the one-shot players. These guys with the spear, with the bow, they're going to try and use all of their abilities in quick combination to just kill you. So see what your server does and adapt. You know, you might like using the ice pylon, but suddenly the enemies are able to just target it instantly and it's useless every time. Maybe try checking out the spike at that point. Maybe your server doesn't have as many bow and musket players. You want to use more elemental resistance versus thrust. A couple other things, you don't want to overextend. Pay attention to losing control points. I don't know how many times I've seen our team move past mid and then instantly lose mid to just 3 or 4 people as everybody fights on the open road. Don't overextend by yourself either. You don't want to just go on one person or let one person, have 5 people following them around. Suddenly, even if they're not doing damage or being able to kill all those people, that one person is occupying 5 other people. And now you're losing more bodies to your team fight. Those 5 people could be useful elsewhere. Use chat. Call things out. Red in storage. Need help. Clear a point. Baron. 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 And you want to know how to proceed after Baron. Always try and make sure your team takes mid. Having 2 control points is a big thing. But if your team loses, think about fighting at Baron. If you already control mid, you stop the enemy from getting that middle point. Sure, you can't score points, but you've just held their team to not be able to get extra points. Remember, the only real advantage is having those control points to help you. Baron buff lasts for 2 minutes. It gives health regen and defense bonus. It's not extraordinary, but it is enough to help out in certain situations. A couple of other things. Battle bread. You can buy this for the Azoth you find on the ground from killing PvE enemies. Eating it is going to give you a 15% damage bonus and resistance to other people who haven't eaten the bread. This does become a bigger bonus, especially with the command post. Command post is going to be 100 wood, 100 ore, and it gives your whole team a slight bonus. At tier 3, it gives pretty much the same as a battle bread. The summons, they're okay, but usually only for defending for a small period of time. Even the larger summons can be taken out quite quickly from a group of players. The respawner costs 60 hide and 60 ore. You're going to want to be able to get that and start getting your team back to those mid fights as quickly as possible. When it comes to cannons near mid, don't worry about it. Doors are pretty good, but just don't build doors on mid. You will get yelled at. When it comes to doors on your home base, if you can get them to tier 3, there are times when there are people sitting on the inside of the base and the entire enemy team is trying to take that door down. And just one guy can continuously repair that door up and they're not able to do enough damage to get through. They can be good, but just make sure you're not spending all your time PvEing when you could be helping your team in other ways. Some last thoughts. You don't want to funnel and give away kills. Stay with your team. Getting kills is great, but it's not really that important in the long scheme of things. Winning the game and getting your rewards is what is important. Maybe try starting as a healer or a tank, something with good sustain. And also another tip, if you're a healer, make sure you change your settings for targeted heals. Find auto run. Auto run is an ability that lets you run with all hands off the keyboard. It's great, but it also lets you move while opening up your backpack. That way you can get some changes in, eat your food, even look at your attributes while you're moving towards the battle. Or, if your teammates are flaming you and you need to flame them back, there's no reason you should be standing around not doing anything while you do that. Divine is an amazing perk. Helps with potions, getting healed, basically everything on incoming heals. Definitely should be considered. You'll also learn more as you play more. So, Don't get a build going and then feel like it's terrible and never go back to it after you've spent a bunch of money on it. You're going to find ways to make things work. When you're in the fight, make sure you target healers. It's a big deal, especially when so many times you'll find team fights where it seems like you're throwing everything you can at it and you can't get a kill. And don't forget to target the healers. It's a big, big thing. Bring your own health and regeneration potions. Sure, you can buy some for Azoth, but you're always going to want to have health and regeneration the first time you get to the first point. Certain builds have must-have perks. For instance, Blessed on a healer staff, Attunement on high damage muskets, Resilient on almost all armor pieces. This is a big one. And then consider Hardy if you're using a light armor build. You might feel like you don't need it, but getting that extra double roll and having stamina is very, very helpful. And remember, sometimes you will get stomped, and sometimes you will do the stomping. Just take your OPR chest and move on. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.